Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for November 6, 2025. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, the Thunder lose for the first time this season. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The Lakers get a big win over the Spurs, and Will Guillory is here to talk about the Rockets' start to the season and what the heck is going on with Ja in Memphis. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Zena. Another busy Wednesday night in the NBA. Too much stuff to cover, Zena.
I know. That's a good problem to have.
We're not going to have time to talk about the ridiculous Donovan Mitchell game. Anthony Edwards was back. We don't have time to get into that. We're going to talk about that probably next week because
he had a loss, so we'll keep that to the side.
It was a loss, but the reason is because the Thunder lost their first game of the season unexpectedly. You know, when we were looking at the schedule, trying to figure out when are the Thunder going to lose, none of us thought, hey, second night of a back-to-back. That's my bad. I just didn't look at the schedule sharp enough. They also sat some guys, all right? So Chet was out, Alex Caruso was out, Lou Dort was out. But, you know, the Thunder were not just out of this game. They were up 41 to 41 to 21 at the end of one, Zena. Like, they looked like they were just going to blow them out.
It was supposed to be business as usual. And I thought you were being funny there when you said we didn't look as sharply at the schedule. Of course, Shaedon Sharpe did pretty well, but his teammate Deni Avdija, who's been on a tear this season, just being a great offensive focal point for Portland, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, just one off from that. And then particularly 15 of 16 from the free throw line. And then it was a bench conversation. You just talked about the fact that OKC didn't have the depth that they typically have. Well, the depth for Portland is what really changed the game here. Thinking about Jeremy Grant, 20 points off the bench. And then also a name that most people don't think about, Joap Reith, coming off and scoring 12 as well for Portland. So they really surprised a lot of folks. Probably not them, though. They've had this grit about themselves. And every game that they've played, it's always been pretty competitive this season so far. And so I know OKC is going to go recoil and get together and figure out what happened in this game. But really, second night of a back-to-back, you can't put too much weight on it.
Yeah, they looked tired on the second night of a back-to-back. Again, after that jumping out to that big lead, they blow it. And then down the stretch, the Blazers just hit more big shots than they did. So, and then the Blazers did get a little bit lucky that Aaron Wiggins' toe was on the line and didn't give up 3 free throws there at the end of regulation. The Lakers pick up a win over the Spurs, who the Spurs have been, one of the bright spots to start the season. Victor Wembanyama, though, this is back-to-back rough games for him. We talked about the Phoenix game the other night where he only had 9 points. This game, a little bit better, had 19 points, but 5 of 14 from the field. And Zena, I want to start with Victor Wembanyama because he fouled out of this game. They maybe win the game if he's in there down the stretch, but we don't see him struggle very much. Like even in his rookie year, like he would struggle, but next game bounce back. We haven't seen him put together to, a bad game and a mediocre game like this. It's been a minute. What would you think about how the Lakers approached Wemby?
What I thought was that coaching staffs pass tape around. Literally, ever since we saw what Phoenix did against Victor Wembanyama, making him uncomfortable, crowding his space, making it really tough for him to catch without an arm coming across him. Like I did feel bad for Victor as I'm watching the game. Like he's getting hacked as anytime the ball went inside to him. But if you're quick about it, and it just looks like it's just a flurry around him, you're not going to get those calls. And Victor just had to be a little bit stronger. But it was a tough game. You could see the frustration. That one dunk that is going to keep being played over and over and over again happened after a made basket. You saw Victor Wembanyama almost had this assertion of himself, no, we just got scored on. I refuse to come down again and not be a part of my team's success. Sprints down the floor, immediately seals in the middle of the paint, tries to get open, has to relocate after he got bobbled. He had to bobble the ball because he got pestered again. Gets to the corner, does what he does, assesses the situation, pump fakes, goes down baseline, yams. But that was the only time that we really saw him consistently assertive in this game versus what we saw on the opposite side of the ball from Luka Doncic. So yeah, the frustration is happening because he knows he's getting pestered. He's getting hacked, but now he's going to have to find a way to fight through all of that because everyone's got the tape.
Yeah. He made life hell for DeAndre Ayton when he was on the court, but Ayton wound up having a pretty nice game, was really effective when Wemby wasn't out there. Luka was crazy. Luka in this game,
great way to describe it.
35 points, had 9 rebounds, 13 assists, 5 steals, which is a career high, 2 blocks. Just the guy continues to just be on a tear to start the season. The Lakers look great. They didn't have Austin Reeves. That team has some pretty good chemistry. I really especially like the way that Rui Hachimura plays off Luka. It's very interesting. And then one more note from this game, Zena, before we go to break. There were 66 foul calls and 84 free throws.
Whew.
This is absurd. The season has started off the complete opposite of what we had going on last year. Bring back the physicality. Let these guys play. Victor Wembanyama, no wonder he was frustrated.
Yeah.
All these guys should be frustrated. That's just too many fouls.
Yeah. It was a little bit tit for tat all night long. There was, Secaucus was busy all night long. Have you seen that meme where that guy has a cell phone to his head and he's like mad and he's like calling the authorities? That's what I felt like the referees were the whole night, just holding their ears, waiting to see if Secaucus, what they thought of this play or what they thought of this call. It was just like, okay. And it kind of ruined the rhythm of the game a little bit. And you also saw that for the Spurs, this Spurs team that's been going up and down the floor and most of their matchups coming into this one, it disrupted a little bit of their momentum and you could see them getting a little bit frustrated. Yeah, it was very much a game of calls. But Luka Doncic, you know what? Even with that, he still dominated, and it was a phenomenal effort for the Lakers for sure.
Yeah, again, it gets to be a tough watch when it's just a parade to the free throw line, and again, to start the season off is just kind of crazy. I mean, look, just put it in perspective. Harrison Barnes is not a guy that commits a lot of fouls. He hasn't fouled out of a basketball game since the 2015-2016 season, since January 25th, 2016, when he played for the Golden State Warriors.
Wow.
And he fouled out of the game last night against the Lakers. Let's clean this up, guys. Referees,
Game
please
8.
Put the whistles away. Guys, stick around after the break. We got Will Guillory, who was in the house for Houston and Memphis. We're going to talk about Houston starts of the season and what's going on with the Memphis Grizzlies and why it's not just about Ja Morant. We're only a couple weeks into the season, but our man Will Guillory finds himself in the middle of every interesting thing happening in the NBA. 2-0 Pelicans, the last 2 games, right? They've won 2 straight for the first time since February. That's the team you used to cover. You cover the Rockets for us now, and they played the Memphis Grizzlies, who looked like they didn't want to be there last night. Will, how's it going?
Yeah, people who usually follow me on this podcast, though, I usually come on bringing the bad vibes with me, whether it's what's going wrong with Zion Williamson, how bad the Pelicans are, who's getting fired. But now it's nothing but good vibes in the Will Guillory universe. The Pels are winning. The Rockets are winning. My UNO Privateers are getting dubs to start the year. So it's nothing but good vibes for me right now in Memphis.
Well, look, good vibes. We'll talk about the Grizzlies in a minute. I want to talk about the Rockets because the vibes are good, right? They're 5-2 to start the year in spite of desperately, in my opinion, missing Fred VanVleet as their point guard. You know what I mean? That the plan was pretty clear that he was going to be the starter, and you can see where they miss his organization. But a game like last night against the Grizzlies where KD doesn't really have a great game, that stands out to me when, especially they win it handily. It didn't really feel, even when Memphis started to kind of creep back in the game, it felt like the Rockets could always just put their foot back on the gas. And I want to talk about that a little bit because we've focused so much of our time the last few months on Kevin Durant and then the lack of a point guard that we've sort of missed a little bit of the forest for the trees. They've got a bunch of other guys. I mean, Amen Thompson and Alperen Sengun have been excellent to start the year.
No, both of those guys have been playing at an all-star level. There's no question. I mean, Şengün was an all-star last year, and I think he's been even better this year with the way he's kind of running the offense, scoring in the paint. He's been effective when they go double big, when he's the center and kind of the guy running the show. It's been extremely impressive. And also some of these other role guys around them. Jabari Smith has been really good. Josh Okogie hit 3 threes in the game against Memphis. Steven Adams has been fantastic this year. I think they're getting contributions from everybody. And we've had some kind of, a couple moments where we've seen KD, but KD through these first 6 or 7 games hasn't really been the full Kevin Durant that we expected in Houston. And I think that's really the scary part because they've won 5 in a row. They're playing extremely well. Could easily be 6-1 right now if they won that OKC game to start the year. So they're figuring things out and getting wins along the way, which is exactly what you would want if you're a Rockets fan.
It's kind of crazy. There's a few teams around the association that you would say are still trying to figure things out. And Houston's definitely one of those. And the fact that they haven't even really clicked on all cylinders just yet is scary times. I mean, I'm looking at even Tari Eason. Starting this season, we were kind of like, he's forcing it a little bit, right? He wasn't really clicking with the offense. Last night against the Memphis Grizzlies, 4 of 8 from 3, getting rebounds, all of the above. I love, Will, that you wrote an article about Houston's offense and just talked about the things you kind of just laid out. Alperen Şengün being that hub, being a passing big, KD obviously being able to get to his spots. But we know that Houston was a great offense last year and they were capable of beating teams. And the question was, is this going to be enough when teams scout them and they can play really great defense against them? Like, is it going to be enough that KD is a great scorer and Alperen Şengün can back folks down and get to his spot in the post? And so my question is, looking at Amen Thompson putting up 26 shots last night, is there more of an opportunity to carve something out for him to be more of a primary scorer? Not just when, KD's not having a great night, but just having him be more of a primary option in the offense.
No, I think that's really the fascinating part about KD being a part of this team now, because you said they were a really good offense last year. And I would say they were really good in transition and they were really good after offensive rebounds. But when it came down to really slow down and execute, I think they struggled at times. And we saw that against Golden State in the first round of the playoffs last year. And I think what you saw in that Grizzlies game in particular is, KD missed a lot of shots. But even as he was missing shots, the Grizzlies were still sending 2-3 bodies at him every time he touched the ball.
Right.
And that opened up stuff for everybody else. And if you go back and look at a lot of those Amen Thompson shots, they were shots directly at the rim, coming off a swing, him getting wide open lobs, him getting wide open dump off passes in the dunker spot, because KD draws so much attention when he's on the court. Even when he's not shooting the ball well, teams have to send multiple bodies at him to slow him down. So I think that's really a weapon that this team didn't have last year, right? Where even with Şengün playing at the all-star level, just having that guy in half-court situations who can not only score, but can draw double teams consistently, that can give you open shots for Tari Eason, give you open shots for Amen Thompson. And that's been making them much more efficient in half-court situations and frankly makes them really scary come playoff time, because we know what KD can do come playoff time. But in the past, we've seen where teams force him off the ball. Some of the guys around him haven't necessarily come through. But now we're seeing these guys getting more and more comfortable, finding their shots, getting the right spacing. And this team can be really dangerous because it's not just KD, but when you get the ball out of KD's hands, Şengün is so dangerous as a passer, especially.
And he's starting to draw doubles too, Will.
Exactly.
Right. He's starting to also draw the attention of the defense, and that's where the geometry of the floor is changing for everybody else. And that's Amen is going to benefit from that greatly. If he can stick shots, great. But if he can continue to put rim pressure after those guys get in the ball, I think that's where they're really going to find a lot of success. Another place that they've been successful, I mean, we knew that they were coming in, that their intention was to play big, be big. And Kevin Durant, by the way, is 7'1", and we don't think about him as being big, but pretty big. All right. So they're huge.
I don't think he wants you to think that he's 7'1".
I know. He's 6'13".
He'll push back on that 7'1".
They've got Steven Adams. They've got Şengün.
Exactly.
Clint Capella was giving them good minutes last night. And kind of a down night for them on the glass. They only grabbed about 31% of their misses. They've been grabbing like 40% of their offensive rebounds this season. And, that would be far and away more than anyone in NBA history. that is a great game plan because taking more shots, having more possessions is huge. But is that sustainable? You know, where are the easy buckets going to come from for this team?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up because if you go to the athletic.com, I got a story about that this morning about their offensive rebound. I appreciate the plug. But I think you're exactly right. This was the number one team in offensive rebounding last year, right? So they were really good at this last year. And like you said, they're even better this year. And I think a big part of it is that, Steven Adams is fully healthy now. They're just playing big all the time. They're running double bigs. Clint Capella and Spot Bennett has been really good for them. And I think this is going to be their formula. They want to grab a whole bunch of offensive rebounds. They want to bully teams in the paint. They want to force you to size up against them, where a lot of teams want to size down. They want to size up all the time. They want to have bigger guys on the court. And you're right. I mean, it's kind of what we talked about before. Last year, that wasn't a formula for success because when we get to playoff time, and KD kind of talked about this recently, you got to make shots, right? You got to have a guy out there who can make shots, who can, in tough moments against tough defense, put the ball in the basket. And they just didn't have that last year. Not enough against the Steph Curry Warriors. And now that they're hoping KD can kind of solve some of those problems and maybe an improved version of Amen Thompson, an improved version of Alperen Şengün can get them across the finish line. But you're right. They need some of these other guys to make shots. And I think in particular, 3-point shots. When you're talking about the Tari Easons of the world, the Josh Okogis, they're going to eventually get Dorian Finney-Smith back. They need those guys to knock down threes so you can create that space for your best guys, because we've seen them figure it out with these double and triple teams, but it's hard to live that way. Like you said, having your best players fight off 2-3 guys consistently. So those other guys have got to make shots, but we're going to continue to see this group attack the boards at a record pace. And I don't know if other teams really just have the size to contend with them.
I love the intentionality that the Houston Rockets have when it comes to offensive rebounding, because it's one thing to be able to get to the glass, but they're also leading the league in offensive box outs. And I think that just goes to show just how much of a game plan it is for them to ensure that they're getting those and grabbing those. There's also a level to this, and I wonder how much, this has come up. Like, we're talking about hitting shots, but let's just be real. The reason why I asked that question about Amen and the 26 shots, his shots are coming off of him in open space, beating his defender one-on-one. Those are like the quote unquote easy buckets that we're finding. It's coming off of being athletic, right? Yeah. Being crazy good on defense, turning the ball over, going the other way, being crazy good on the glass, jumping over people. I mean, that one shot we saw of Amen Thompson dunking the other night, and his 3 teammates looking at him like he's Jesus coming back to earth was insane. Like, this is what they do. So it's like, how much have they talked about? Yeah, our athleticism kind of outpaces the fact that we're not maybe offensively perfect just yet in terms of hitting shots. I look at these two teams and like Houston, Dallas, both teams have size, but one team's just a little bit more athletic, and you're seeing the outcome of that. How much can you rely on that aspect of it going throughout the season?
Yeah, that Dallas thing, we could do a whole pod about that, or what the heck is going on in Dallas right now.
You need guards, Will, it turns out. Dribbling is important.
Dribbling is a key part of basketball, it turns out. I think I was having this conversation with somebody in the media section last night at the Memphis game. I really do think Amen Thompson is one of the craziest athletes I've ever seen on a basketball court. Because we've seen guys who can jump. We've seen guys who are fast. We've seen guys who are quick. He's got it all. I mean, the way he moves on the court is unlike what you see in a league where the most athletic people in the world play, and he makes them look slow at times. The way he can just move so quickly and get to his spots and just kind of soar through the air and kind of figure out what he's going to do once he gets there. He's having a really incredible past couple games. And I think, man, when you watch him, it still feels like he's got so much more room to grow with the jump shot, with his handle, learning how to actually run a team and be a true point guard. He's so good right now. He's so impactful with the way he can, do things on offense and defense, but he's still got so much room to grow, which is impressive. And I think you got to give Ime Udoka a lot of credit for the way he's figuring out how to put Amen in advantageous spots where some coaches would probably be like, hey, give him the ball and let him figure it out. Where now they're like, hey, we can stash him in the dunker spot and let him take advantage of the doubles that Şengün's drawn. We can sometimes allow him to run the offense in transition or, bring it up a little bit. They put him in different spots where it doesn't feel like he has to do things where he's uncomfortable doing them, right? You don't see him taking a whole bunch of jump shots or coming off a million pick and rolls throughout games. They're putting him in spots where he's comfortable, where he's getting the shots that he wants to get. And I think that's what makes him so dangerous because, like you said, he had 28 against Memphis, and I don't think he took a tough shot the whole game. I mean, it was just easy.
But 28,
they're just capitalizing on his athleticism. That's to be fair. They're capitalizing on the whole team's
26 shots. Fair. All right. Yeah. Like we got to bump the efficiency up a little bit. I will say it is wild that in 2025, a guy had 26 shots and only 3 threes. The 3-point volume for this team is going to be an issue at some point. Like basketball does become a math problem, especially when you get to the playoffs, because those offensive rebounds that they're relying on right now may not be there. I'm worried about what they're going to do in the half court when the shots don't fall. And part of that is that they just don't get up enough of them, right? From deep. They shoot a lot of mid-range, and that's fine for now. And that's going to win them a bunch of games, I think, in the playoffs too, because they're ready to take those. But I do worry that 3-point volume is going to kind of bite them once they get to the playoffs if they don't figure out some shooting. All right, you saw Memphis last night. I want to talk to you about the Grizzlies because you're in the building, right? You got eyes on them. It's, we're on Ja watch. Basically, we're breaking out the fake Ja trades. Ja said that he's kind of lost his joy. In the post-game press conference, Tuomas Isola, the coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, he was talking about how he feels like, they've got 3 guys in the half court that are not moving at all times. Their energy is up and down. They're inconsistent. That's the way it looks at the eye test. What was it like in the building? Did you feel anything from Ja, the Grizzlies? Like, did you see anything?
It was really just stunning is the only word I can really think of because, I was here last year, when this team was making their run to the playoffs and during that first round series against Oklahoma City. And, the usual Ja Morant experience is him roaring at the crowd, running 100 miles per hour up the court, talking trash to the other team. And in that Houston game, it just felt like he was just kind of there. Like he wasn't really into the game. There wasn't any point where it really felt like he tried to take over or inspire his teammates. It just kind of felt like he was going through the motions again, which, this whole thing started because he was going through the motions against the Lakers and his coach called him out for it. And it feels like just whatever's going on hasn't been resolved. They still haven't figured it out. And we can talk about the other guys, but let's be real. They're following the lead of their 2 best players. Their 2 best players are not engaged. They're not aggressive. Against Houston, Jaren Jackson had 1 shot attempt in the first half. 1. I think he finished with 5
6 in the game.
The game. 6 for the game.
Yeah.
He just wasn't there. And Ja Morant took way more, but his efficiency was in the drain. He was just taking a whole bunch of jumpers. It's funny sitting in the arena. And what I love about going to Memphis is that we actually sit courtside, unlike, 95% of other NBA arenas. So we're actually able to hear stuff. And during the game, you hear Grizzlies fans like, come on, Ja, you can do it. Come on, pick it up. And it's like they're trying to hype up Ja to kind of be the Ja that they're used to. And they just don't recognize this guy who's out there, who's in the past has put this franchise on his back. That's why the people in Memphis love him so much because he's carried this team. And that's what he kind of took pride in being the guy who put this team on his back. And right now, he's just kind of there. And I don't know what you do to fix it. I don't know what the problem actually is. That's kind of the weird thing. We don't really know why he's acting like this right now and why it's kind of bled over to Jaren Jackson as well now. But it's a major problem and I don't know what you do to fix it. And I think it's just, like I said, it's stunning to watch because what we've known this Memphis Grizzlies team for, especially at home, is they just kill you with their energy and their pace and the way they attack the paint. And it's just gone now. It just doesn't exist with this team anymore. And I don't know how they get it back.
I'm going to take a sigh. I'm also going to take a devil's advocate position here. Okay. Put my player cap on here. And this is for the both of you.
Yep.
After that Lakers game, and, everyone saw the clip of Blake Griffin, properly criticizing, but also building up Ja Morant and how his body language was in that game. We talked about it. Dave, you and I broke it down. It did not look good. Absolutely. So I immediately, when I watched this game tonight, I had particular goggles on. I wanted to see, number one, is Ja Morant doing the little things? The things that you don't necessarily get paid to do, but will absolutely change the game. Are you engaging with your teammates when they do good things? Tapping them on the way back, telling them good shot, etc. Are you rotating in help defense? Are you even trying to find out where you should be in help defense? When the shot goes up, are you turning to your man to touch him or check him before he goes to the glass? These little things I was paying attention to because he was not doing it against the Lakers. But I noticed, okay, he's doing them. Not tremendously or not super like energetically, but he's doing them. You just said, Will, this whole lack of energy on offense has happened to Ja, but it's also bled over to Jaren Jackson Jr. I would say it's bled over to everyone. I started looking at that offense a little bit. The whole team looks, thank you, Dave. The whole team looks like they don't know where they're supposed to be the second that someone gets the ball at the top of the key. And I'll give Ja this. Another thing that we saw, yes, he had a lot of pushed and forced, jumpers in the mid-range. But in transition, he was looking for folks. We saw some pretty, alleys that he threw to Jock and, getting things going in transition, whatever. But he was looking, no one's cutting. The only person that was cutting was Santi Aldama. Cedric Howard would bleed out to the wing. You saw Vince Williams Jr. doing that. You saw everyone kind of just being like, oops, someone's in the middle of the paint. I'm not sure. Let me not get in the way. I'm starting to look at this and say, okay, we've been evaluating Ja with this backdrop that might be bigger than Ja, which is, do y'all know what y'all are doing on offense? And I just want to know, is it unfair bias? Yes, we saw that game, but is it now unfair bias that we've already got our eye on Ja, trained to see him not be energetic in an offense, that I'm now taking a step back and being like, this ain't just Ja. I'm seeing everyone kind of looking like, I don't know, raise hands. I'm not sure where I should be, where I should go, should I cut? And I think it's ultimately impacting how we're evaluating him in this moment.
I think that's a good observation. I mean, again, it's not just Ja. It's just that we are used to seeing Ja at 11. Yeah. And when we're seeing Ja at like 3 and 4, and it's not even the primary action with Ja, right? Like he is still doing things. It's that when he gives the ball up, then what? But as you said, there's a lot of that. It's a bunch of guys on that team. Starts to make you think, well, maybe they're missing Desmond Bane. Maybe Desmond Bane was sort of the glue.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I remember Taylor Jenkins at the start of last year saying, hey, we're too Ja Morant dependent. We need to have more movement, more ball movement, more spacing, more guys cutting off the ball. And we need to be less pick and roll every single time and dependent upon Ja. And what happened was guys said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to be the Ja Morant team that we've been in the past. So they've gone back to 100 pick and rolls, everything going through Ja. And now we're saying the offense is stagnant. Guys are uninvolved. And I think Zena's right. You got to be able to find a happy medium. But also, I think this was the issue last year, was that they didn't want to be this team. They wanted to have more movement. They wanted to have more cutting. And the guys kind of rejected it. So now we're here with Tomas Isola. And like I said, I don't know how you kind of put the genie back in the bottle now, where you tried this experiment where they revamped their offense. They had some success, but they eventually just collapsed at the end of last season. And now they're kind of doubling down on, hey, we're a Ja Morant pick and roll team, and it's just not working. And I think you're right that those other guys have to contribute. But we know this is the NBA, man. This is a star league, and your role players follow the lead of your stars, and the stars just aren't doing enough right now.
Yep. Well, you know what, guys? Maybe Zach Edey will fix all of this, and we'll just forget any of this ever happened. Guys, go and read Will Guillory over at The Athletic. He's going to be covering the Rockets, but of course, good source of information all about the NBA. Thanks to Zena Keita. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.